We're going to spend the rest of tonight's show remembering a St. Louisan who was truly one of a kind. I mean, I can't imagine anybody saying, get me a Stan Kann type. They would have had to go for the original. Unfortunately, we lost this irrepressible and irreplaceable entertainer. Stan Kann passed away at the age of 83. In many ways, he was a funny little man. In other ways, something of a giant. On a Sunday afternoon in October of 2008, people came to the Fox Theater not for a play or a concert, but just to gather in memory of the man who did so many things.
As soon as I hear his name, I get a smile in my heart, you know, and I just remember somebody who never had a bad word to say anybody, somebody who dearly loved his music and what he was doing, somebody who was hilarious and never knew it.
Some people knew Stan Kann as the man who played the Fox's Wurlitzer organ. Others remembered him from local TV. This is him on the Charlotte Peters Show. And other people around the country knew him as the nervous little man with the gadgets. And he did it all as only Stan Kann could. It's why so many people showed up to celebrate that life, and why Patrick Murphy featured him in several Living St. Louis stories, because one just wasn't enough.
Stan Kann is a legend, known for half a century to St. Louisans as the man who brought life to the Fox Theater's mighty Wurlitzer, and a distinctly colorful personality to the region. Americans from coast to coast know Stan as the man with the vacuum cleaners, from his 77 appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Ed knows nobody that collects vacuum cleaners right off Stan. Well, you know, I don't either, and that's the trouble. There's nobody to exchange with. This one was called the grasshopper, Ed, because, you see, you had to go real fast. Now, the bellows connected to the wheel makes the suction, you see.
So when I got the chance to visit Stan Kann's vacuum cleaner collection, I was there.
Watch your step. We're going down to the suction chamber.
The suction chamber?
I call it the suction chamber.
So this is where old vacuum cleaners go when they die?
Yeah, this is vacuum cleaner haven, you might say. Only I don't think they know that because I've spent so much time restoring them to their original grandeur. They're very happy. They tell me all the time that they are.
You've been interested in these all your life?
Oh, since I'm 8 years old, I used to bother the neighbors to death. We didn't have one. So I would go up and down the block, and I'd listen to somebody vacuum. I'd knock on the door and say, can I come in and watch you run your vacuum? And chances are they'd say, no, you can't. Sometimes they say, yes, you can. I soon got to know them by ear sound. And just be on the street, I can tell what she was using, what model she had, and if it was working right.
The neighbors probably regarded you as a strange child.
They thought it was crazy, absolutely crazy. And my mother began to have doubts too. My dad didn't like the idea whatsoever. But the funny thing is my dad did have me see a psychiatrist. And he was worried about the fact that I was spending more time with these vacuums than I was. I was just beginning to study music then. And I spent more time with the vacuum. So I went to a doctor after school every Thursday afternoon. A doctor in our family recommended this particular psychiatrist. I hate to say that's what he was, a psychiatrist. And they wanted him to stop this thing with me and vacuum. So every Thursday I go to Dr. Finger, and we sit and talk. And one day my dad said, now is he helping you after I've been going for about a month? And I said, I just love Thursdays going over to his office because I said, you know what, Dad? This man collects electric irons.
So the diagnosis was you were crazy and they gave you a pipe organ.
Which made a noise like a vacuum. There must have been some tie in there because I think it's the air. Something about the air. The pipe organ works on air. And the vacuum cleaner only works on air going, sucking in, the pipe organ going out. Here's what we have to do before we can even play the organ. And these are two of the biggest blowers ever to be put on a Wurlitzer. These are the original motors that were put in 1929 when the organ was installed, and they put 50 pounds of air up. Now watch when I push the button over here on the wall, what it does.
So this provides the air for the pipes.
Right. I wish I had just $1 for every time I've walked through here to get onto the organ console and ride it up into the theater. I have to be careful that I step down on this step. Now there's the back of the organ console. See? This organ is on its own elevator, you see. It's separate from the orchestra pit. The orchestra pit goes up and down separately, and the organ console goes up and down separately on its own elevator. So when I have to be very careful that I just take my time, get over here, and then get my bottom over here on the organ bench. Now you do the same thing.
Okay.
Hang on. Okay. There, all right. Okay. Now let me get further over.
Have I got a seatbelt?
No, you don't. Not allowed.
Okay, now.
Now you want to start up. You pretend you're playing. Press the top button. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. See? And it's smooth. You don't have to put your finger on it.
Now you said you can't hear what you're playing while you're coming up.
But leave go of the button now.
What was it about Stan that made people love him?
The fact that he was so tremendously talented and had no idea that he was. He just, his humility wouldn't let him appreciate his own artistry, quite frankly. He was the most extraordinary musician I ever worked with.
Beneath the Stage is a musical wonder which has its own story. I'm talking about the mighty Fox Wurlitzer.
Built especially for the Fox Theater, it made its debut on opening night in 1929, but was retired in 1938 and parked beneath the stage and left to rot for more than 20 years, until a young music student named Stan Kann heard about it.
That time it was owned by the Arthur brothers, and I persuaded Mr. Arthur to let myself and some friends from the university come in here at night after the last show and try to work on it and get it to play again, which we did. And after we got it to play reasonably well, of course it wasn't great, but it was reasonable, I've called him in and let him hear it. And he said, let's put you to work for 5 weeks, playing it 7 days a week, 4 times a day. Well, the public liked it so well that those 5 weeks became 22 years, 7 days a week, 4 times a day. And it was fun for the first 10 years, and then I had to get help. This is just one of the 8 rooms. There's 8 of these rooms. And of course, I'm just taking to the ones that are the easiest to get to. These are the various pipes that speak different instruments. Trumpets, flutes, all different instruments. But if you want to see the percussion, we have to do this.
Filling a labyrinth of small rooms are drums, gongs, buzzers, even a Model A Ford Auga horn. So at the touch of a button, the mighty Wurlitzer can produce sound effects and music.
It differs completely from a church organ, because the idea of the theater organ was to be much more orchestral than a liturgical instrument. It was made to play the pop tunes of the day, ballads, romantic music, because the idea of a theater organ is built on tremolo, like a violinist does with his hand.
So you can expect some sounds you won't hear from your average church organ, including the sound of choirs.
It's a Latin word, vox humana, means voice of the human. We have the streetcar gong. Not many people remember the streetcar. Either get on or get off. And of course the car comes right down the street. The birds, they're hard to hear. They're very small birds. And the little orchestra bells. For Christmas is wonderful.
His fingers were magical on that organ. And anytime I'd see him later in years, I'd say, let's sing this or that, and he would know the key, and he never forgot a song. But most importantly, he never forgot a person. I've never seen anyone smile so much in my life.
Go! Go! Yeah! Hey, wait a minute, we got one.
It only cleans on this stroke. It does not clean on this stroke. At least this one keeps you awake.
It looks like a big bug spray can.
It does, doesn't it? And it's called the little goldenrod. And it wasn't that much of an effort, really. It did take up some dirt, and the dirt would get in this can right here.
So you pump it.
You have to pump it. Doesn't do a thing standing still. And it's not heavy, very light. But a manufacturer came along and took the pumping by hand away and fixed a bellows arrangement that pumped itself. You see, so all you did was push.
I can't believe either of these ever worked.
Well, listen, in 1900, 1901 and 3, anything you didn't have to do with a broom was an improvement. You see, and this was, they sold these things, Sears Roebuck catalogs, all kinds of catalogs. They were only $5, but that was a lot of money then. And this one, I think, still got the guarantee on the back. Look, see this? It has the guarantee. It's against defects in workmanship. How can you tell? This is probably the most unusual machine in the whole collection of anybody's vacuum cleaners because it was made in 1920, and it was the first electric vacuum cleaner which would go under furniture. You just turn it. They call it the human wrist.
For Stan Kann, it's been a lifelong love affair for the machinery that pushes and pulls air through pipes, and the music that he can create on anything, from a Wurlitzer to a Hoover.
People still call me and say, we have an old vacuum, we're going to throw it out, would you like to have it? And I say, I really don't collect vacuum cleaners anymore, I have everything I want. And I'll say, what kind is it? Guess where it ends up?